Detective Michael Rourke had been in law enforcement for 23 years. He had seen it all, or so he thought. Homicides, missing persons, even the occasional serial case, all filed neatly into boxes in his mind. He had built an emotional wall, brick by brick, to survive the job. But in the fall of 2016, that wall crumbled. It began with a phone call at 2:14 a.m. A frantic voice from dispatch. "Detective Rourke, we've got a situation. You'll want to come in for this." The address was in a quiet, middle-class neighborhood. One of those places where people still left their doors unlocked. When Rourke arrived, uniformed officers stood pale-faced outside a small white house. No one was speaking. Inside, the smell hit him first. Not the usual metallic tang of blood he knew too well, but something heavier. Something wrong. The living room was untouched, family photos still smiling from the walls, until he stepped into the hallway. What he saw in the master bedroom would haunt him for the rest of his life. And that was just the beginning. The scene was too clean. The bed was neatly made, sheets pulled tight, except for the crimson spreading through the center. In the middle lay Anna Kelly, 34 years old, a school teacher. Her eyes were wide open, frozen in a look of sheer terror. But there was no sign of forced entry. No signs of a struggle. No defensive wounds. Rourke's mind went into procedural mode, scene preservation, photographs, evidence markers. But a part of him couldn't shake the feeling that the room itself was wrong. Then came the discovery that made even the hardened crime scene text turn away. On the wall above the bed, written in what appeared to be the victim's own blood, was a single word. Why? Rourke didn't know it yet, but that question would consume the next year of his life, and ultimately, his sanity. Anna Kelly had been a respected teacher, loved by her students and colleagues. She had no known enemies, no debts, no questionable associates. Her husband, Daniel Kelly, was out of town for work and had an airtight alibi. Their marriage, according to friends, was strong. Rourke dug deeper. Anna had been part of a small book club, volunteered at a local shelter, and taught Sunday school. The more he learned, the less sense it made. This wasn't a woman living in fear or hiding secrets, at least, not on the surface. Then came a strange detail. 3 weeks before her death, Anna had started keeping her phone on silent at all times and refused to answer calls in front of others. Rourke noted it, not realizing yet that this tiny change in behavior would lead to the unraveling of everything. The tech team found partial prints on the bedroom doorknob, smudged, but definitely not belonging to Anna or her husband. No match in the system. Even stranger, a faint smell of chloroform detected on the pillowcase. This wasn't rage. It wasn't impulsive. It was planned. And yet, the killer left no footprints, no fibers, no signs of forced entry. It was as though they had materialized inside the house. The one clue Rourke couldn't stop thinking about was the word on the wall. Why? Was it the killer mocking them? A final message from Anna? Or something else entirely? In the weeks following, Rourke threw himself into the case. Sleep became an afterthought. Meals were skipped. His wife noticed the change first, his short temper, his vacant stares. He began having dreams about Anna's frozen expression, her eyes locking with his as if asking him to explain what happened. Colleagues whispered that Rourke was too close to this one, but he ignored them. For him, this wasn't just about finding a killer. It was about answering the question that had been burned into the wall. 2 months later, another murder. Different victim, different neighborhood, but the same staging, a spotless scene, a single word written in blood. This time, the word was stop. No connections between the victims. No shared acquaintances, no overlapping routines. But Rourke saw the link instantly. The precision, the absence of physical evidence, the message. The press started calling the perpetrator the word killer. Rourke hated the name. To him, this wasn't a serial killer profile. It was something more personal, more calculated. An anonymous tip pointed them toward Evan March, a handyman who had worked at both victims' homes in the past year. March had a minor criminal record, trespassing, petty theft, but nothing violent. Under questioning, he seemed calm, even helpful. Too calm. Rourke felt his gut tightening. Something about March's eyes reminded him of the crime scenes. Cold, deliberate. But March had alibis. Verified ones. Every time Rourke thought he had his man, the evidence collapsed beneath him. The third victim was found in March 2017. Lisa Harrow, 29, lived alone in a downtown apartment. The word this time was enough. By now, the case had become Rourke's entire existence. He was working 16-hour days, drinking coffee by the gallon, ignoring calls from his family. The press hounded him. The department was under fire. And somewhere out there, the killer was still choosing words and victims. Rourke started losing control. During an interview with a potential witness, he slammed his fist on the table so hard it startled the entire squad room. He began carrying the crime scene photos everywhere, looking at them in diners, on park benches, as though the images would suddenly reveal something new. One night, unable to sleep, he pinned all 3 crime scene photos to his living room wall, the single words glaring at him in the dark. Why? Stop. Enough. It felt like the killer was speaking directly to him. Then came the 4th murder. The victim was an elderly man, Harold Green, found in his study with the word U above him. WHY. Stop. Enough. You. Rourke stared at the sequence for hours. It was no longer just words. It was a sentence forming. And the moment he realized that, a chill ran through him. Because if this was a sentence, it wasn't finished yet. Rourke sat alone in his office, replaying the sequence of words in his mind. Why? Stop. Enough. You. It wasn't random. It wasn't symbolic. It was communication. But communication to whom? Was it directed at him? The public? The victims? Then came a realization that made him feel physically ill. What if the killer wasn't speaking to anyone, but accusing? WHY. Stop. Enough. You sounded fragmented, like missing pieces from a much larger, darker statement. And if the killer was spelling out a message through his victims, then more people were going to die before that message was complete. Rourke's obsession intensified. Every day began and ended with those 4 words. He plastered them across his case board, tracing lines between them and the victims, searching for a hidden pattern. He combed through victim histories, phone records, social media activity, anything that could connect them. Then something surfaced. Each victim had received an anonymous note weeks before their death. A plain white envelope, no return address, containing a single typed word. Anna Kelly's note had said WHY. Lisa Harrow's had said enough. It was the killer's calling card, and they had somehow missed it for months. When the next call came in, Rourke already knew what he would find. The victim was Carla Monroe, a mother of 2. The word above her body, hurt. Why? Stop. Enough. You hurt. It was coming together, but in a way that made his stomach knot. The killer was building a sentence directed like an arrow at someone. And the fact that he was the one seeing it form first made Rourke feel as if the killer was in the room with him, watching. The case had now consumed 10 months. Rourke's marriage was hanging by a thread. His teenage daughter had stopped speaking to him entirely. His captain ordered him to take a week off, but instead of resting, Rourke followed his instincts into the night, driving aimlessly through neighborhoods, watching strangers from his car, convinced that one of them was the killer. The fatigue and paranoia started to warp his judgment. He began to see patterns in shadows, faces in windows. The case wasn't just part of his life anymore. It was his life. It happened again. A man named Elias Turner was found in his apartment, the word ME written in blood. Why? Stop. Enough. You hurt me. Now the sentence was almost clear. It wasn't an accusation against society. It wasn't random. It was personal. The killer was telling a story of pain, betrayal, and revenge. And Rourke feared the final words would reveal a truth too devastating to bear. For the first time in months, they caught a break. A security camera 2 blocks from the Turner scene captured a hooded figure slipping into an alley minutes before the estimated time of death. When enhanced, the footage revealed a distinctive limp in the left leg. Rourke's mind went immediately to someone he had once questioned early in the case, someone dismissed for lack of evidence, Evan March, the handyman. The limp was new. Something had changed since their first meeting. Before they could bring March in, another body dropped. Grace Holloway, 41, found in her kitchen. The word, die. Why? Stop. Enough. You hurt me. Die. The sentence was now unmistakable. It was a declaration, a demand. And that's when it hit Rourke. The killer wasn't just targeting strangers. These were people connected by a single, hidden thread, an old, buried case that Rourke himself had worked years ago. Digging into archived files, Rourke found it, a home invasion case from 2008. 7 suspects arrested, only 5 convicted. 2 walked free due to insufficient evidence. The victims in the current murders were all tied to that case in some way, jurors, witnesses, even the prosecutor's cousin. And in the arrest logs from that year, Evan March's name, The killer was almost done with his sentence, but Rourke realized with a sickening certainty who the last word would be written about. Him. The final message was meant for him. And if the pattern held, he would receive a white envelope any day now. It arrived 3 mornings later. Inside, a single typed word, now. Why? Stop. Enough. You hurt me. Die. Now. Rourke knew he had hours, maybe less. They swarmed March's known addresses, but he was always one step ahead. Rourke finally found him in an abandoned factory on the city's edge. March didn't run. He simply stood in the center of the room, smiling faintly, a knife in his hand. You took everything from me, March said quietly. Now I finish my sentence. The standoff lasted minutes but felt like years. In the end, March lunged. A single shot rang out. The case was over. But for Rourke, it would never be over. Even after the killer was gone, the words remained burned into his mind, whispered in the quiet moments, scrawled across his dreams. Why? Stop. Enough. You hurt me. Die now. And that was how the best detective in the department became a man who could no longer sleep without the lights on. Cases like this remind us that the cost of solving a crime isn't always measured in hours or dollars, but in the pieces of a person's soul they can never get back. If you were gripped by this story, subscribe to True Crime Hub and hit the bell icon so you never miss the next deep dive into the cases that change people forever.